Alright, hello everyone. Today I'll be talking about defense stocks and why they are very bullish right now given the current economic state of the United States with tariffs and the Federal Reserve forced to cut rates given the horrendous financial reports regarding jobs, CPI inflation, aggregate inflation, food, housing, etc. So I was actually eating out with my friend today. We went to this really cool kebab place and we were talking like, yo, like what should we invest in? Like everything's pretty volatile right now. And it looks like every like company is getting artificially boosted by like the anticipation of rate cuts, right? So that kind of spiraled into like, oh, well, should we get Bitcoin? Should we get gold? Like to preserve our assets, but I don't think the dollar is going to depreciate that much to the point where, we need gold like tomorrow. Like, it's not going to be that bad, right? So, talking about defense stocks, which historically have a very, very high percentage of their revenue coming from the government. If you look at Palantir, their government revenue or their revenue, total revenue that comes from the government is 55% of their entire revenue. Lockheed Martin, it's around 80 to 90%. Rheinmetall, it's around 85% of government contracts being their revenue. And, all of these government contracts, at least like 99% of them, go towards defense, aka weapons, aka tanks, missiles, etc. So now with the current conflict in Europe, the Middle East, and, soon in the Asian Pacific theater, there are going to be a lot of weapons being researched and produced. Now, you can see this with like fiber optic drones in Ukraine. You can see like bomber drones, Mavics, Lancets. There are plenty of drones that are around the skies, but that's not the point. The point is, all around the world, people are afraid that a major war is going to break out. Now, with that being said, that is very good for defense companies because that means the fear of a war creates a demand for weapons because people want to defend themselves with these weapons. And these weapons come from defense companies, which need to get paid to make these weapons, which in turn increases defense companies' overall market cap, and it boosts up their stock portfolio. Now, Rheinmetall. Rheinmetall personally makes Leopard 2A4s, Leopard 2A5s, up to Leopard 2A8s. Leopard 2A4s are kind of like old and they're being phased out, but the new tanks like the KF-51, or is it the 41, I forgot, and the Leopard 2A8, those are in development and you can see them all over defense expos around Europe and really just like around some other countries, I believe. But the point is that Rheinmetall is expanding a lot. Pretty much every NATO country has a Rheinmetall tank and they have multiple on order. If you look at their revenue growth, it's pretty insane compared to some other S&P 500 companies. Their earnings reports almost never miss. They have a pretty good leadership in their company. They have literally battle-hardened and battle-tested products in Ukraine, and people want their products, most importantly. This company is mainly boosted off of fear, which is only increasing, especially with drones being launched into Poland, and the NATO alliance increasing its mandatory budget from 2 to 5% only pushes this narrative further down. So that's a lot of positive stuff, but the thing about Rheinmetall is that it's all politics driven, right? Not all, but a lot. It is a stable company, but if the Ukraine war ends, if like some conflict ends, if the fear goes down a bit, the stock will probably dip by like 5 to 30%, maybe even 50%, right? Which is why you need to be careful about it. I'm not gonna go and say like, oh, this stock is all like sunshine and roses. No, that's really not the case. Even if it has a market cap of 100 billion US dollars, which is higher than Northrop Grumman and around Lockheed Martin's market cap, it's a defense company at its core. Defense companies need defense for certain countries that want defense. If countries don't want defense, then there's almost little demand and little need for defense companies. With that being said, there's a pretty high demand right now, especially with the United States no longer being like the world police. Because in the past, NATO would just go like, "Yo, the U.S., you got this, right? You can like help us out if Russia ever invades." But the new administration really just wants to turn to isolationism, and they really just don't want to defend others because they want to focus on America first. Now, with that being said, Europeans now have to buy American weapons to send them to Ukraine. Like, why would a European country go out of their way to buy weapons from a foreign market at a huge premium just to defend a country thousands of miles away for their own safety? It doesn't make sense, right? Like, if I was Germany, I wouldn't buy Patriot systems. I would create a really enhanced IRST missile system that's domestically produced, stimulates my own economy, creates German jobs, creates it creates patriotism, all of the cool factors, boosts my own economy, and then I can use it for my defense. I wouldn't waste money on some American Patriot system that is really good, but it's not economically worth it for Europeans, right? Especially if you look at Patriots, they are very hard to manufacture. You're talking about years to make some batteries, and some batteries doesn't even mean the whole system. That just means like some launchers, some radar, stuff like that. It's very uncertain, right? If you look at Lockheed Martin, the company that currently makes the Patriot system, like, bro, they are not doing too good, right? But if you look at European companies, they're getting a lot of investment due to anticipation and fear, and a lot of capital being flowed into like such companies. So what I want you to take away from this video is that there's a lot of upside to this stock. I wouldn't put in like 10 bands all at once because that is pretty risky. I would say like you can put in like $5 here, maybe $50, $100, $1,000. Put it in equal increments so you can dollar cost average. If you know what dollar cost averaging is, I'll make a separate video of it. But essentially, you put in equal amounts of money over time. So over time, you buy the company for less. Instead of like buying like $10,000 of Rheinmetall at the peak and then losing a lot because it slides 1% and then like panic selling, you can just put in different increments, different investments over time. So your investment is like averaged out and it's more secure. If you don't want to just invest in Rheinmetall, there are alternatives. So if you look at the NATO ETF, it has Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Rheinmetall, of course, other defense companies. And if you look at Themes Atlantic ETF, that's mainly for like that's mainly for American weapons like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. If you want like an ETF for American, go with Themes Atlantic Aerospace ETF, something called that. If you want diversification in the European defense market, look at NATO. The NATO ETF, they both have reasonable expense ratios of like 0.35 to like 0.5. Which it's like kind of like the industry average right now. So yeah, diversify, invest. I bought into Rheinmetall a while back, so it's working out for me. I just wanted to get this out there because with a lot of like import duties being placed on like Chinese goods, like really all goods in the US, like trade is going to start to slow down, but weapons trade probably won't slow down anytime in the future, at least not European weapons. Anyways, if you found this video informative, show some support, liking, subbing, commenting. If you have any ideas or suggestions, please leave them down below in the comments. I love to read like different points of views on what you guys think. And yeah, I'll make a video on like personal finance, not too much on like political stuff like in this video. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you guys in a bit. Take care.